Hello, my name is Nikki, or should I say Dr. Nikki, and welcome to my channel. I'm about to tell you all the things I wished I knew about med school before I went to med school. I'm still uncomfortable with calling myself Dr. Nikki, Dr. Lopez, anything like that. Since I've only been a doctor for less than a week, I graduated med school last Friday. It is Thursday today, so it's still fresh in my brain. And even though I don't usually talk about medical school and my career in medicine, I wanted to make a video that would have helped me if I was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even 1 year ago. I think it would have been helpful. So I just wanted, to put this out there, and in case you stumble upon it and this helps you, please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them, but I just wanted to jump right into things I wish that someone would have told me before I started, or things I realized and learned throughout going through the 4 years. Imposter syndrome is real and it's thriving in medical school. I feel like most professions with a really high driven, success driven individuals that take form of the community are gonna lead to imposter syndrome, and you're gonna be surrounded by people that are so intelligent, so innovative, so creative, and you're gonna be sitting there in that first year of biochemistry and be like, what in the world is going on? And people are gonna be like, bah, 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 glycolysis, and you're gonna be like, I'm behind. How does everyone already know the answers? At least that was me. That was me in my first year. I went straight from undergrad to medical school, and I did a humanities major. It was a lot to take in that first sort of year, and it really took me a while to get my footing. And through that getting my footing, I felt so much self-doubt and so much kind of overwhelming feeling of I don't deserve to be here. There were people that were better candidates, and you know what? That is true. There were better candidates than me that didn't get into medical school, and I just got lucky. And I feel at the end of the day, there's probably 5 other people that had my exact same application that didn't get in, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But if you're in there, you deserve to be in there, and you have to make the most of it. Med school's hard enough without you beating yourself down. And so honestly, for me, my personal journey, I had to get professional help, a therapist, psychiatrist, to work through everything, and that was super helpful for me. And that gave me a really healthy sense of self-confidence, because at the end of the day, this is a profession that you're gonna be beat down a lot. And this might be through your superiors, through the culture. This might be, for example, I didn't match into the specialty I applied to for my advanced position in the last ERAS match, and that really brought me down a lot, and I really had to work on that. But if you don't develop that sort of resilience and that compassion for yourself earlier rather than later, it's gonna be a really hard profession for you, I'm gonna be honest. And this is probably the biggest advice I wish someone had told me earlier, and the most challenging thing to really put into practice, because it's totally a mental game, and it's a total thing of changing your perspective and changing your self-worth and all that sort of thing. So my biggest recommendation would be, if you see yourself falling into really toxic patterns, feeling like you don't deserve to be there, feeling like your mental health is really suffering, take some time to really nurture yourself and put back into yourself, because if you can't do that, you're just gonna be running on empty, and it's gonna be a lot. So take your mental health seriously. It is just as important as your physical health. And I think that the culture of medical school, with this grinding and hustling and how much can you study and how much can you do and all that sort of thing, it really lends itself to just not doing your best. And I was in that, and there's no judgment from me, but I wish someone had sat me down and been like, you must work on this before it gets too late, okay? I apologize if the audio changed. I'm now fanning myself, and I put the air conditioning on because I was getting all sweaty. Number 2, stick to your study plan. Let me repeat that. Stick to your study plan. Unless you're getting C's and the person next to you is getting A's, and you're I think they're doing something different. Learn from that. The biggest thing that I did that I really regretted, because once I was just consistent with something, my entire life changed. I studied better, I got better grades, I understood things better, I was just a better student overall. There are so many resources that get thrown at us while we're in medical school, and so many things that they make you buy and take into, and you're oh my god, information overload. No, what you need to do, break it down into simplistic things. Use one thing for each class and the Q bank. That's it. Do not go and be okay, I'm gonna use Sketchy and boards and all of that all for one class. No, for me, for example, I use boards for a lot of it, especially like in my first 2 years, because he's great. Jason Ryan, I think it might have changed since I think someone bought him, like someone bought the platform, but like I really like the videos. I know online med ed is really good. Some people use that like third year and fourth year, but what I do recommend, again, do not do online med ed and then Words and Beyond and then like Dr. Najib or something like that. No, my third year and fourth year, I actually used Divine and I loved it because when you're in third and fourth year, you're like driving around. I'll put all this in the description box in case you're wondering. My second year, I used Sketchy for micro and path, and Farm, which obviously like that is the holy grail. You don't need anything else other than that. I wasn't there, like I feel like I'm aging myself, but like Sketchy Biochem wasn't around. I did use Pixarize for Biochem and that I liked. Like it just depends on like how you study well. And I think like this is another side note. Don't feel bad if you miss lecture or if you like use lecture to do other things. If lecture isn't where you learn. Lecture didn't work for me and it felt like it was a really hard like thing to like get over because I felt bad for my professors almost because like they put a lot of time and effort into preparing these presentations, but if it doesn't work for me and it's not going to give me the results that I want, like I shouldn't have to like do it, you know? Like I think that the end learning and medical school in general is self-taught because even though you can go to lecture, you need to like hammer everything down. Also, big thing that I use, Anki. There's a bunch of resources on YouTube that like explain Anki better than me. Again, make your study plans, stick to it, and you're gonna see a lot better results than like jumping around resources or just consuming a bunch of different things, not actually sitting down and like, you know, in Spanish we say like, you know, chewing it, mulling it over. And yeah, that would be number 2. This stage of your life is already complicated enough. Don't make your study schedule and study plans complicated. My third piece of advice is time is money. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, you're paying to be there, so I guess it is like money. I say it in the way that like time is gonna be your biggest currency and the thing of most value that you have in medical school. You don't have a lot of it and you have to use it really wisely and prioritize who you wanna spend it on and what you wanna spend it on. It can be really hard and you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna say no to a lot of things, you're gonna miss a lot of events, and you're gonna be really sad about it. And I think that it's totally valid to grieve that and grieve those moments that you've lost. And I think that's like throughout all of your career and like especially like that, like, you know, undergrad, medicine, residency phase, like you are missing out on a lot of life experiences that you're gonna see that your non-med peers are doing, and you're gonna feel sad about that. And that's totally normal. Make one of the things that you use your time on something exercise or movement related. You are gonna be sitting down for a long time. And one of my biggest regrets was actually not getting like a standing desk because I was like sitting down for so long and it would make me very uncomfortable. But, you know, you live and you learn. If I ever have to study that much again in my life, which I hope I do not, I will get a standing desk. And this leads me into my 4th tip, and that would be have your hobbies. One of them must be the movement thing, and then another one can be like, this channel for me is my hobby. Reading is my hobby. You don't have to pick something that's so time intensive. For me, this worked for me because I'm someone with a lot of energy, a lot of creative energy that I felt I couldn't dispel in my medical school studies because it was just so monotonous. But do something. Crochet is good if you want to do surgery. Every time I would say that, I crocheted, like even if it was briefly, like I had a hobby of crocheting because sometimes I would listen to audiobooks and crochet. I would get doctors to be like, oh my god, you have really good hand dexterity, and I would be like, weird flex, but okay. But you need to do something to liberate stress, and I think it also gives you some time to detach your identity from medical school. It can be really hard. Again, this kind of blends into the time thing, but since you don't have time, the people that you spend the most time with are also your med school friends and peers, and then if you have a partner that's also in medical school, like everything becomes consumed. If you have family that's in medical school, everything is just consumed by this identity that has become so vital to you, and that can be really hard because when you fail at it or you have like a setback, you're gonna feel it. Like you're gonna feel like it's a personal failure, and I think it's really important to create healthy boundaries between you and your work, and hobbies are a way to do that. And hobbies are a way that you can de-stress, find joy from something else, and then come back to it. And it doesn't have to be super time intensive. Again, this is a lot. This is a lot. I had people all throughout med school being like, are you crazy? And I was like, I don't know. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not crazy. Just hyper. Little air break. It's 100 degrees outside, I swear. Now, my 5th piece of advice is going to be, you are there to learn. Again, kind of with the time is money thing. I could have made that a big, like, just like the title of the video, honestly. You are there to learn, and this applies more in your 3rd and 4th year where you're actually working but you're also studying at the same time, which can be really overwhelming and not enough people talk about it. You should be taking advantage of your time in lectures and in your time in clerkships. You should be learning, you should be doing stuff. You can obviously, and I think that it obviously comes from taking an initiative, but I think something that maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but personally I didn't have any problems or any sort of like repercussions from it. But you should speak up for yourself when you feel like you're either have your time wasted. For example, if you are sitting there for 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. literally not doing anything, you should find the courage to either ask your resident or your attending if it would be okay for you to leave to go study, or if you can study there with them until something comes up. I think that there's like this culture that you should just sit there, and I don't think that's very positive, but I think it starts with, like, for example, me, that I'm gonna be now an intern and gonna be helping with new residents and stuff. I think that it's important that, like, going forward, and I guess this is more for you, have consideration over your students. And I know it can get really busy, and I think that's the big thing, that a lot of doctors get really busy and residents get really busy during their shift, and they forget that you're there, and that's fine. So remind them that you're there. Remind them that you're there to help, but also remind them, hey, I can just go home. I think that's okay. Like, I feel like this is my more controversial opinion on this, but I think that there's a culture of, like, just having people sit there. Or, like, personally, I don't know, like, why medical students have night float. Like, I don't think that you're doing much there, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, and myself included, I felt like useless. I never actually did a night float, so I'm lucky. You do what you gotta do, and obviously, like, read the room. If it's like an attending that you know is like not gonna feel that, or like you see that the resident has been treating other students poorly, read the room. And also with that, have common sense of, you know, if you're there only 5 minutes to an hour, like, don't leave yet. If you actually don't have to go study, don't leave. Like, try to do something. If you haven't even asked if you can be helpful, don't leave. Be, you know, logical, but also most doctors and most residents understand, like, that you have things to do also, and that, like, you're there to learn, and if there's nothing to learn, that they have no problem, like, letting you be free like a bird. And on the common sense thing, and I just need to put this in somewhere, be nice to staff. There's no reason as a medical student that you should be mean to any staff at a hospital. It doesn't matter their rank, it doesn't matter if they're in medicine, and especially not the patients, but I feel like that goes unsaid. Be nice. They're gonna be your best friends when you don't know how to get places, when you don't know how to do things. The nurses, the techs, everyone, they're gonna be the people that, like, actually have your back the most. Just because, like, the residents and the attendings are busy, and that's understandable, you need to be nice. Be nice. No one's above it, okay? Comes around, goes around. Leave it at that. And then the last one, and this might be like the more controversial one out of all of them. I thought it was the last one, but it's definitely this one. It is okay to change your mind about medical school, about life, about specialties. You have that freedom. I think that medical schools feel like medical system, medical careers feel very strict. I do think that they should allow for more flexibility. I really think that it is important to know that if this is a career that, like, no longer makes you happy after you're there, it's never too late to either find something, a different avenue. I know that there are some people on Twitter that are very vocal about it, about, like, how they found non-traditional paths for MD. Nothing is worth, like, your unhappiness, especially if it really makes you unhappy. And everyone has different philosophies when it comes to their careers, to what joy means for them, to what happiness means for them. I'm not someone personally that just subscribes to, like, you must choose something that makes you happy. I think everyone needs to choose what feels good for them. And I feel like that is, like, also something that is, like, really hard in medical school and, like, medicine. And then you're gonna get, like, a lot of, like, that sort of information and, like, that sort of messaging is the right word, from the people around you, and, like, people that aren't even in medicine, being like, this is your career path and you should be passionate about it, and because you're passionate about it, you shouldn't have any sort of, like, other aspirations to anything. And that's not fair to you, because at the end of the day, you are human just as much as they are. So don't take to heart what people, like, say to you. At the end of the day, you're gonna know what's best for you. Obviously, make wise choices, financial choices, career choices. I just wanted to leave it with that because I feel like that's something that people don't talk about and it's quite taboo. I think it's important that we talk about it so that it's less controversial. But with that, I hope this was helpful. I really tried to think of things that I hadn't really seen and I really wish someone would have told me. Some of them, I was like very nervous filming this, so I hope that everything got transmitted well. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, leave me a comment down below and let me know if there's something else you'd want to know about med school. I don't feel like I'm an expert and I have no interest in this becoming a medical channel. I think it's like more of my life right now. I am happy to help anyone or give advice if anyone needs. So I don't know what I know, but I can just give, you know, life advice. So anyways, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!